I kind of just want to start with how first of all did Sundance go, and how's this journey been so far that you've had with this film?
Yeah, Sundance was amazing. It was an amazing experience. It's of course, the sort of thing that, as a young filmmaker you dream about, being selected and but then, and when that call comes, it is a dream come true. But then there's the rush also of, getting the film done in time. We finished it, I think, 4 days before screening, so it was quite the whirlwind. But the reaction at the festival was great. It was, such a beautiful place to be in, and such a great premiere. So that, yeah, that was very exciting. And now, yeah, currently I'm speaking from a hotel room in Toronto, where I'm at the Inside Out Film Festival, and will be screening it in New York at New Fest Pride on Sunday as well. So yeah, it's great to now get to kind of, take it on the road, uh and kind of, get to present it to a wider audience as well beyond Sundance.
Absolutely. And I'm excited for you as that journey continues. For people who are maybe just discovering Sebastian, can we start with like a synopsis on what the film is about?
Yeah, so it is about a young queer man called Max. He's 25, living in London. He's a freelance writer, working for a cultural magazine, and also working on, his kind of short fiction. But he's desperate to get to a debut novel, and in order to, he begins a double life as a male escort in order to gain experiences to write about this character called Sebastian.
It's a really bold synopsis here. And I mean, the first question that comes to mind is, where did this story come from? What inspired you to make this film?
Well, I'd say there are multiple kind of inspirations and multiple, questions behind it, and what I am really seeking to kind of ask with the film. But I think the spark of the idea came from when I first moved to London myself after university, and kind of started just, discovering the London queer scene, and it gradually dawned on me just how many of, young guys my age, my peers, were involved in some forms of sex work. And I think I found it a bit striking because I'm from quite a, a small town from Finland on the Russian border, and where I think, that would have been, frowned upon very, very much. So I was very curious to look at a character for whom sex work is a choice, and, done out of choice rather than, for lack of them. And kind of really looking at sex work as, what it has become as well, which is increasingly just another option in, London's gig economy, for example. Um, but I wanted to tie that exploration into also a an kind of inquiry into the idea of autofiction, and just looking at the relationship between a writer's life and their work, and the different ways in which we as storytellers, involve ourselves in the creative process, and really kind of also ask the question of whether someone might not simply write about their life, but whether they might choose to live their life in a certain, maybe more exciting way to have material to write about.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to think about here. I mean, I guess it wasn't until this movie that I started like putting together the idea that sex work is kind of is a version of gig work. And so there's certainly some awareness and enlightenment, I think, that comes from a story like this, and just something a lot to think about and adjust my perspective on. Um, but something else that I was thinking about as I was watching this film is that we're talking about a young storyteller who has an editor who's giving him feedback on what he's writing. It's interesting because it feels like a lot of that feedback could have been like feedback that you got for like writing the script. I guess my question is, are there any notes in the movie that was given to Max that you wrote in because those notes were given to you?
Uh, what I will say is that, definitely I was seeking to kind of reflect the process of, art making within a marketplace in the world. And in developing the script and in writing it, there were definitely, there were moments that were actually inspired by those conversations, then that that it was, quite fun in a way to, to put in there. Um, don't remember exactly, if anything, if there was anything particular that ended up in there, but they made it to the final film that I was asked. But I mean certainly, even I guess those uh sometimes those conversations or questions also about the likability of a character and things like that. But yeah, I was definitely, there is that kind of meta layer in the film of seeking to reflect the actual, the industry of, whether you're a filmmaker or whether you're a writer. Same kinds of questions do get asked when you are making work for an audience.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's the saying, write what you know, which is so relevant with Max's story here. That's kind of his exploration on like learning how to make his story super authentic. And so I mean that's very relevant here in Max's story. But I went back and watched your debut film, A Moment in the Reeds, and was just also really drawn into those characters that you wrote in that movie as well. So I guess the question that I have here is how much of yourself do you write into your characters when you're developing them?
I mean, I think, like, it's a good question. I guess you with both of those films, I suppose, you kind of begin from a place of maybe a perspective, of, with A Moment in the Reeds, I'm Levi's, who is the Finnish character. His trajectory does kind of parallel mine in the sense of just, leaving Finland to kind of go study abroad and, seek a kind of more open-minded society outside of Finland, and then when returning, kind of reassessing Finland from a slightly different point of view. And and with Sebastian, I spent most of my 20s in London as a young artist, writer, filmmaker, working kind of, trying to find my voice and, trying to find my place there as well. So yeah, that's sort of, with both films, that sort of beginning perspective. But then beyond that, it's fiction, and you are inventing, of course, and, bringing together all kinds of things that you heard about and experiences that have happened to you or other people, and inventing.
Yeah, very cool. Very good points made there. Kind of in line with a little more comparing to A Moment in the Reeds. Again, something that I loved a lot about A Moment in the Reeds is that character, the connection between the two characters, and how that develops and escalates into the relationship that they have. And there's a discovery process there that I recognized also in Sebastian when he meets one of his clients and kind of you know goes on this journey to learn
Nicholas.
more about this client. Nicholas, yes, exactly. And it seems that there's a priority for you when writing characters and writing stories to have this discovery process between characters kind of complement the sexual component of your stories. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
That's a really interesting observation, and I suppose I haven't, necessarily kind of even articulated to myself in those terms before. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think both films uh look, are also studies in intimacy as well, and I think talk about absolutely about those uh the things that we can learn from, even from brief connections with other people. And often, in both films, those are also, they are certainly then tied to sexual encounters as well. But I don't know. I think it's about the kind of the value of of encounter, even in kind of more fleeting encounters as well, of building up intimacy and what we can learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is Sebastian is a film that's going out into the world, um and people are getting to react to it and experience it. I guess I want to know what you're most proud of with your accomplishment in making Sebastian and having it being shown to people now.
Oh, that's a tough question. I think just as a it I'd say the whole thing, I guess, it and even maybe the leap from A Moment in the Reeds to Sebastian. It is, of course, a film that's told on quite a, whilst it deals with intimacy uh as well, it is on quite a bigger scale as well. So there was also definitely, a bit of a learning curve as well, going from one film to the other. And
Mhm.
and it's also, a script that I worked on for a very long time. So and compared to Moment in the Reeds, which is a film that I also cherish a lot, but that it was made in such a short span of time, and this I have lived with for a very long time. So even on sets, then seeing these scenes that I'd kind of dreamt about for so long come to life every day, was a revelation. So yeah, but I mean, I'm very proud of all the work also done by, just a fantastic cast that we were able to assemble for the film. Ruaridh really, breathed life to Max Sebastian, and we couldn't have found a better Nicholas in Jonathan Hyde, or better Daniel in Ingvar Sigurdsson, and Hiftu Kwasimas Amna, uh very exciting new actress as well. So yeah, I'm very proud of the whole thing.
Yeah, as you should be. It's a really awesome film. Very the production value of it, the story and of course the thought provocation that it has for this particular scenario is very interesting, and I'm excited for even more people to see it at the fest that you're at now, and when it gets whenever it gets a wide release. Um, so talk to me more about you as a filmmaker and what you really what is the thing that you hope to do most when you approach a film project? What is your ultimate goal in filmmaking and storytelling?
I suppose it's to seek to, hold up a mirror and, and reflect uh things in society, or within ourselves as well. This is Sebastian is a very, I think of it as a kind of existentialist inquiry, in a sense, into as well into, this person's subjectivity. So it's quite a, whilst it's on a wide scale, and and we go to lots of places and lots of locations, it's also a very internal story. um but yeah, I guess I'm very drawn to kind of questions of identity, how we form our idea, conceptions of ourselves as well in relation to the world around us, those processes. So yeah, I'm drawn to projects and films that ask questions yeah, about ourselves in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple more questions, then I'll bring this conversation to a close. Again, it's been great talking with you, and thank you for taking this time.
Yeah, very much so.
Um, yeah. So queer filmmaking and storytelling. I guess I want to know about, or maybe get your perspective on what kind of impact you want your films to have on the art of queer filmmaking and storytelling.
I think I mean it, again, it's a big question that I think ask queer filmmakers. We think about think about our practice and processes and the meaning of our work a lot, because also there's the relationship that one has with queer cinema when growing up might be quite different to then the one that I have with it now, making it. Certainly growing up, it had such a, it had such an important role in just kind of providing representation in those examples and making one feel less alone in the world when you know as a closeted teenager and not knowing any other queer people, and queer films were a way of kind of a portal to a world beyond, and seeing that there is a community somewhere. And now I think uh I first of all hope that I think that we could kind of work towards uh getting getting rid of a big distinction between queer cinema and mainstream cinema. Whilst I think queer work is really important to for it to also retain a transgressive and kind of radical perspective as well. It I yeah, I think it's important to be able to kind of work towards away from those distinctions, and be able to make work with a queer sensibility that doesn't necessarily have to, that is also for a wider audience, and for hopefully wider audiences can engage with their work as well and can relate to it. And with Sebastian as well, I hope that whilst it is a story about a young gay man, uh having lots of gay sex as well, that people can relate to the universal story of a young person kind of seeking who they are, seeking their identity at such a transformative and formative moment of their life as well.
Miko, I love that answer. I think that that's so relevant and just so just keen for you to recognize. So yeah, I love that. Lastly, I just kind of to set expectations for potential audiences, people who are looking forward to seeing the film, what would you tell people and to set their expectations before going into watching Sebastian?
Um, to yeah, have an open mind. I think not to go into kind of necessarily expect like neatly answered like neat answers to all your questions. Have an open mind, and be prepared to to be provoked as well, hopefully to some extent. And I hope that people will also, after leaving the cinema as well, keep thinking about some of the questions posed by the film as well. And that it can be something that will linger on people's minds.
Absolutely. Awesome. Miko, thank you again for
Thank you
having this
so much.
conversation, and congratulations on Sebastian and your work with that. And I hope you have a good time in Toronto and New York while you're over there.
Thank you very much.